tonight, but go ahead and get a roll call, please.
Chairman Tucker.
Here.
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Here.
Board Member Ezell.
Here.
Board Member Rogers.
Here.
Board Member Stevens.
We have the minutes from February the 10th. Any amendments to the minutes from back in February?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Have a motion and a second, get a roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Board Member Ezell.
Yes.
Board Member Rogers.
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes. Everybody would stand with me and join in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hopefully everybody's got their cell phones on silent, please. First case on the agenda tonight is 1619 Berry Road.
Just go ahead and tear it down.
Okay.
Okay.
I think
The cell fell through, they kept coming lower and lower, wanting us just to get it to them, and we don't have time to get someone with it at this point.
Okay. Well, this case has been going on since January last year. And we were in agreement about 13 months ago that this house needs to be demolished. So we're all in agreement again now. The sale just fell through. So we want to go ahead and, I'd like to make a recommendation that we go ahead and demolish the house and we'll put a lien against the property for whatever the costs are.
But with, this is mother's property. She's had 2 surgeries in the last few months. We just don't have the time while doing this. The idea was to get the title acquired in the event that someone wanted to sue the city or sue us, but at this point, it's been almost 4 years or less now.
Okay.
So let's just tear it down.
Okay, we got all your good contact information,
Yeah.
telephone numbers and everything are up to date. Okay, I have a motion.
Make a motion, we, take down the property at 1619 Berry Road, at the request of the, attorney for the property. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Get a roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Board Member Ezell.
Yes.
Board Member Rogers.
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes, sir. It's been good to see you.
It's not that I don't mind coming to see you guys all the time, but
And I'm just going to remind me of your connection with Ms. Key.
I'm her son. And I practice law down in Marietta, and, I'm running back and forth for this.
I know it's 12 trips you made here.
Yeah. And we just got so jerked around by these guys that were going to buy it, that, I just don't have the time to be doing it.
Understand.
Anyway, I appreciate all your help. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Safe travel.
Next property on the agenda is 1302 Pleasant. We have a representative here from that property.
Spoke to Mr. Parks about 30 minutes ago. He was unable to meet tonight. He is under contract with the investor to sell the property too, so his recommendation is just to put it off for 30 days to see where it's at with it.
Okay. Any objection to passing the case? Any discussion?
I'll make the motion with contingency that we pass it one time till April the 30th, 2020. If nothing's resolved then we'll take other actions.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor.
13th, April 13th. Or second Monday in April.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Get a roll call, please. Kenny?
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Board Member Ezell.
Yes.
Board Member Rogers.
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes. The next property is 5001 Pike Drive. We have any representatives here from that property? Has codes enforcement been able to enter that property?
Not today, we have not. I have, the only number I have was the lady that was staying there. Her brother is the listed owner through the tax assessor's office. He's been deceased since 2015, and she has since quit answering my phone calls. There's nobody staying at the house at the time right now, but I'm unable to make contact with anybody.
Is there any way we can go ahead and condemn this property and post it, put a posting on the front and make some type of improvement, especially on the electrical?
I thought we already posted.
Because the property has, not been, happened in January while we're in. So, no, this property been posted.
The last one,
We-
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
Well, I had, the last order was February, which showed that the notice was posted, a notice of no entry.
Yes.
Right. I'm not aware of any condemnation posted on the property.
And that was when I got a return phone call from, I can't think of her name, and I've got that in my office, but I've tried to make contact with her several times. I've gone by the house, knocked on the door. There's the same vehicle's parked in the driveway all the time. It's actually disabled. So I'm able to make contact with anybody.
I went by one night last week around 9, and there was somebody in the house. I could see them move through, they had the front window.
I haven't checked
pulled
it
up.
out.
But at 9 o'clock at night, you guys aren't out where you can go, and I didn't know about calling a law enforcement officer or not. There was no car there other than that.
Well, the house is not habitable the way it is, with the electrical the way it is. It'd be my recommendation to go ahead and condemn the house until they pull a permit and get it back up to code.
I'll make a motion to condemn the house, and we also put posting in the city control right. We're gonna go in, we're gonna have to force entry.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion to second. Do the roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Rogers,
Yes.
Chairman Peters.
Yes. Next property is 1318 West End Avenue. We have an update on that property.
We went over to 1318 last week. We did an interior inspection, walk throughout the property. Noticed that some of the drywall had been replaced. Other than that, there wasn't substantial improvement. The hole in the foundation was patched. I know Ms. Settler was asked to have a contractor and the FEMA forms filled out back now. I think she may have brought them, haven't seen them yet.
You took a picture at my house.
I did get a picture of them. I wasn't able to reach the contractor though.
He had a tornado, and he's trying to work on both houses at the same time. He's from Cookville. I couldn't get no one from Hamilton County to come.
Who's the contractor?
Robert Barnes, out of Cookville, Tennessee. I got his license number and everything, if you need it.
Did he complete the substantial improvement letter?
He's got this one,
Was it acceptable to codes enforcement?
and he's working on the other one and getting it notarized.
The only thing that he's really filled out was some contact information. This is the first time that we've seen the estimate improvement forms.
I don't think he had that one with him.
Okay, so this would be something for the chief building official to look over.
Is he here? Could you please look over it?
That'd take a little bit more time than just,
And you get him a copy of that so he can review it.
Yeah,
No, I don't.
we'll copy that.
Okay.
That's the estimate to repair the house.
He can only repair what was marked on this paper that he cited me on. That's the only repairs he can legally do, is what was marked on it.
I think so.
She didn't say that. What is the amount?
6,000?
$6,653. That's with labor and all.
Well, what did that include? Did that include all the improvements code?
Yeah, that he got me on.
I think he's gonna go to the back and try to figure this. I'll just recall this case in just a few minutes, okay, if you don't mind saying that. Okay.
He's actually just going to make a copy. That was.
Oh, is that all he's gonna do this time? Okay.
Did you say when you gonna make the repairs?
He came and did the side where the holes were on the side of the house. And, because most of the stuff, it's already been repaired. When I came in here in February, we were working on the window, had the window put in. We were working on the holes in the floor. Them were repaired now. The ceiling is repaired.
It definitely, there has been work performed, but it isn't the work that we want to see done. Well, for starters, she needed to have a contractor, which she has failed to get. We needed completed substantial improvement forms approved by the chief building official that we have failed to do. As far as doing some of the repairs, I think that Ms. Stetler and her family have done themselves.
And I had that paper filled out where we can do it ourselves, and it's notarized too.
None of this was notarized through our office.
Well, I brought you this paper in November,
What paper is
that one.
it? Just the contact information for you?
You had that one.
I do have it in here. But getting a licensed contractor, getting the improvement forms, and getting the work done has not been completed. We've continued to pass this case 30 days, 30 days, 30 days, and nothing in the orders we have come back with, you know?
The one contractor, he wanted to redo the whole house. And the guy I talked to, he goes, we can only do what's marked on this piece of paper.
Well, the main thing is you get it up to codes, you know, that's all we're asking for. Have a recommendation from any of the other board members?
Feel like I'm stuck on Groundhog Day. It's the same thing every month.
And it's food.
And if you go by the property, there's 3 SUVs sitting there. I don't know whether 2 of them are tagged.
One of them's involved where the keys were involved, where the keys were taken out of the house when the house was broken into.
Okay. Right, there's also 1.5 motorcycles sitting out there.
Yes, them are getting moved today.
Okay. And I saw that gentleman was arrested at that address.
That's the one, the building caught on fire behind my house. He was arrested.
Okay.
That didn't come from my house. That was the house behind us. 1317 Pleasant Street.
Was he living in that shed that broke?
Yes, he was. I had the front locked, and when last time, I think a month ago, the cops untook the padlock off the front of it.
Now, that's on the Pleasant.
Yeah, that's on
the Pleasant Street.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Okay.
I meant this trust, Premier Trust. Mark, is there any way you can contact them?
We've got contact for them. We're handling that property.
In regards to this one, you know, one thing, the gentleman contractor you got coming out of Cookville, is he licensed?
Yes, he is. I have his license number right here, Steve. And I can, you want a copy of it if I say something?
Because to me, it's going to seem logical that he puts his primary emphasis right now on what's going on in Cookville, especially if he's had issues. So you're just going to be sitting here coming back month after month after month after month, and just a repeat of what we've been going through. Anybody else have any ideas?
Well, until they investigate that substantial improvement level, it's gonna take him a little time, so we're gonna have to at least give him a month, and maybe you can find out what the timetable is and what the starting of your house.
Yeah.
But keep in touch with the coach.
I have. I let him, every time he comes to the house,
Okay.
and he calls, I even called him the end of last month, trying to get him to come out there early. And he goes, well, let's go come out there a couple days before the meeting.
And we're going on over 6 months on this one property now, so we need to.
Because the only
wind
thing
it
he
up.
seen was the one center beam underneath the house, because it's old, it's where it's turning, and he said it won't take long to fix that.
Well, just get some kind of timetable. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to pass it for 30 days. Okay, we have a motion to pass it 30 days, so we got a
They
second.
have to have code to get in.
I'll make a second. That will be April the 13th.
Get a roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Rogers, Chairman Winters.
Yes. Next property is 3707 Wiley Avenue.
One thing on this, is
Okay.
there any directions that you all want to provide rather than just showing up next month? Is there any clear guidance?
Contractor needs to be here so we can address questions to him. We're gonna need a dollar amount, what it's gonna take, and if she's talking that somebody has told her the CRB and think the house is sagging, then that needs, we might need to look at a structural engineer's report for that, because, I mean, that's a wet zone, but it's already sagging, it's gonna continue to sag, would you agree? Lauren?
Yeah, I think the last time that house was completely underwater was probably 93.
No,
Was it? Has
no.
it been since then?
no. That house, last time that flooded was in 2000, when all of Pleasant went under and half of West End was underwater. My house got maybe 2 foot underneath it. That was it.
Okay.
Well, it is not here, right, the requirement from the contractor is to be there.
Okay, I get it.
Not he
Okay.
can't be
you can.
here or something else, you need to find another one, or somebody to represent his interest that actually works.
Okay.
Okay,
I
we
think
have
it would make
amended.
it clear, it'll be in the order that the contractor must be
Okay,
here.
yeah.
Get your motion amended. Yeah, is there a contractor be required
Okay.
to be here next meeting?
Yeah, make a motion, we pass this to April the 13th, 2020, with the stipulation that the contractor that's going to do the repairs be present and hear the dollar estimates and the rest of the paperwork completed. If not, we will take that house down within 30 days after that date.
Okay.
I mean, we've told you this, that same comment multiple times. You know, we're at our list, we're done. So we need to move forward.
Get a roll call on the amended motion. Kenny seconded.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Rogers,
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next property is 3707 Wiley Avenue. Any updates on that property?
Yes. I met with Mr. Green, what was it, Friday? We went out to the property, looked around, took some pictures. I was able to get in the front room, which is some improvement from the last time I was at the property. It's a really long way to go, but I think that he started the process to get some things cleaned out. He contacted an exterminator. They aren't able to perform their services on the interior of the home until the rest of the debris is cleaned out, just because the
Sorry, they are putting traps around on the outside, bait traps and stuff on the outside though.
And then as far as securing the property, he's put a padlock on the front door. However, last time when we were there Friday, the back door was kicked in again. So I asked Mr. Green to secure that door tonight.
I secured it that day, and as far as I can tell, nobody had gone in. It looks like maybe something hit against it and maybe pushed it open. It did not appear that anybody had been into the building.
What's your timetable on removing all of the furniture and debris out of the inside of the property?
I'm hoping now with the front room cleared out, I'll be able to move a lot quicker and be able to manage it a lot better. I'm hoping, I'm going to say about 3 months roughly, sir. I think I can do it.
It's going to have to be done quicker than that on account of the rodent being infested up there with rodents.
I think we've taken fairly good care of the rodents. I haven't seen any in the building since I've been going in and out of it. And I'll have the exterminators back on the 23rd, and by then I'm hoping that they'll be able to come on the inside and make sure that there's no more coming in or on the premise. I haven't had any other neighbors express that there's been any rodents around the area like
What about the property cleanup? As far as the property goes, not being maintained?
The outside, you mean, sir?
Right.
At the moment, I've just been handling the inside of the building right now. I wasn't aware the front was, under my understanding, was okay, and the back area was,
It's overgrown 2 or 3 years, hasn't it?
yeah, it's just a lot of bushes and stuff of that nature. I did think at the time when we talked last time, but it didn't seem like y'all were asking me to do that yet. We spoke about it for a few moments, but I don't remember us talking about actually starting on anything that needed to be done on the outside at the time.
Well, I know if your property's anything like mine, everything's growing very rapidly right now.
Yes.
All that brush and all the brush is gonna get worse.
Yeah, I understand that. At the time, we had discussed about needing to take care of that. It was my understanding that y'all were, at least the front area was fine, and the back area, since it wasn't street side, it wasn't an issue at the moment.
This is one we're talking about.
Those photos are from Friday.
3 months is entirely too long for that property in order to clean it up. It's obvious there's a lot of rodent activity just looking at those photographs. Right?
I believe that was mostly older stuff, sir. I mean, when I've cleared out that front room, that stuff was the stuff that was left over from there. I haven't seen any new rodent damage or any new rodents visible from since I've been going there. I haven't had any issues with them.
Which exterminating company did you?
Working.
I don't know what the problem is about going in.
I've asked them several times about that myself, that it seems like it's cleared out enough so they could at least go inside, set stuff. They come back on the 23rd, and I want to speak with them about it then. I understand maybe at the beginning they weren't really comfortable with it, where the way the house was at the beginning of it, but I believe I've cleared out enough area for them to come in now.
Okay, what the property's disgusting up there, especially on the interior of it. I wouldn't want to sit next door to my property. I think our last order was that if he didn't hire one, that the city go ahead and hire.
The city will not hire an exterminator, no.
They wouldn't put one in.
No. The property owner's responsibility to take care of the rodent problem. And I believe the reason that they won't go inside is because they can't get past the living room. The living room is the room that he's been working in. It's not completely empty, and once you get in that room, you can't get in the rest of the house.
I'm hoping now with the living room I'll be able to pull more stuff out and give them more access.
But the exterminators would be crawling and diving through debris if they were to go past the living room.
What would actually be your recommendation?
I mean, I would obviously like to see this property cleaned up. I know Mr. Green wants to get his valuable items out of the house. I know that his father isn't able to help much due to health issues. But as far as getting the property cleaned up, if they're willing to sell it, rent it, do something with it. I know the neighbors are concerned, we're concerned. You can't walk in the house. It's full of rats, rodents. We're not really sure what else in there. The bottom of the property is definitely overgrown. There's some issues with getting the property secured. The bottom door that I was talking about earlier, the windows have been busted out of it.
Sorry, I've completely covered that over now.
Okay, so when I was there Friday, the windows were busted out of the door. I wasn't able to lock. I wasn't going in there, so I asked Mr. Green to go in there. He stepped in. He didn't think anyone had been in there. But other than that, I would definitely like to see the property cleaned up, if not demolished.
I recommend you just get you a dumpster and put it up there in the front yard. And
I do have a dumpster there, and that's what I've been doing is dumping.
Yeah, you hire a couple of guys and as you.
That's sort of the issue right now is hiring people to do it. The quotes I've gotten, the people want more money than I can afford right now, sir. And I'm hoping, like I said, I've got that front area cleared out. I'm hoping I'll be able to clear out the next room and the next room and the next room within a reasonable amount of time. I'm just uncertain of a time frame. I don't know what to judge it off of exactly, sir, so I can't say specifically, the time frame I can work at to get it cleared up to that specification.
By way of refreshing this body's memory, the actions that were taken were on February 10. It was reset for March 9. The owner had requested 60 days. This commission denied that and granted 30 days. It was to undertake efforts to get a professional exterminator. He was to bring in all reports and costs of such. He was supposed to stay in constant contact with city officials for an inspection and bring photographic evidence of all efforts that he had taken since February to remediate the conditions on the property that were identified in the prior proceedings in this matter. Those were what the conditions were, the order dated February 10th.
So you're telling me the city of East Ridge cannot hire an exterminator and put a lien against the property?
That's,
If it's a question of hiring a different exterminator group, I can look at doing that.
I don't know of any exterminator that wouldn't go in there and try to address the situation, you know?
I mean, the problem is they can't get in there, and they're not going to dive and, you know, climb through debris 4 or 5 feet high. I mean, the rats and the rodents are just gonna hide underneath all of the debris. You have to crawl through the kitchen, the dining room, the hallway to get down the stairs to the bottom of the property unless they went in the back door, ground level, and crawled through that way. The house is full of debris.
Is it worth saving? I mean, structurally,
Structurally, I think it's reasonably there. The outside structure is, I think, reasonable there. It's brick, and I think it's held up pretty well over that. My ultimate goal at the end of the day is that I would like to tear the building down after we've cleared it out and do something else with the property.
It seems like it would be financially to your advantage to get what you need out of there
Yes.
and have it tore down with all the other crap in it, so it's hauled off at the same time by whoever tears it down.
And I don't disagree with that. I mean, it's just, I'm trying to get all this stuff out. I'm trying to make sure I have time to get all the items out that I'm trying to get out, and I'm trying to clean it up to meet y'all's standards for it and to take care of the rodent problem. You know, so I mean, I'm just sort of I'm sort of juggling it at the moment. You know,
Reason your brother won't come up and help.
he's working and he has not had time to come up. He has not been able to get time off work to do it.
What are your dad's thoughts?
He wants to clear out as much of the stuff out of it after that, and then pretty much he's left it up to me and my brother's decision about what to do with it afterwards. You know, right now, like I said, I mean, I think if I can get enough stuff cleared out and we get the rodent people in within the next month at least to make sure about clearing out, putting the traps within inside the building and taking care of that issue, and that is not going to be an issue of trying to have to rush to find everything done as quickly.
Anybody have any ideas where you find laborers $10 an hour?
Is everybody I've spoke to so far has asked for like $1,000 a day for like one person?
Well, there's people out there that would work for $10 to $12 an hour.
I mean, I understand that. I
We
just haven't
found
been
some
able to
of them
find-
lately to help out some other citizens with things.
usually down by the food kitchen down on 11th Street, there's a corner down there that a lot of people go by and pick up daily workers and laborers every day.
There's
Also,
also
we got an option for you.
on 23rd Street next to Sherwin-Williams that people lined up out there at 7 o'clock in the morning.
I know where you're talking about. I drive past that every day.
Pass it 30 days. Since he does have an exterminator, and try to get them in there as quickly as possible. Recommendation.
I mean, I believe the biggest issue right now is mainly the rodent issue of that nature. And I think once I get the next room cleared out, I'll be able to have them do more work with the pest stuff on the inside. I think even with this room cleared out, the front room right now cleared out, I should be able to, I'm hoping I'm gonna be able to talk to them about them coming inside the house this month to set stuff up inside that room and then go from room to room, basically. And like I said, sir, I know it's my word, but I have not seen any new rodent damage. I have not, any rodents I have come across have already been dead for a period of time. You know, when I'm in there, I don't hear anything moving around or massive threat to something like that, that they would want to just, completely hide from me.
Usually they do hide when they hear the noise.
I know, I understand that, I'm just saying, I doubt, I've been in there for several hours at times, so I would assume I would have heard something, or, noticed something moving around.
Well, we just need to get this thing expedited, move as quickly as we can.
And I truly am trying to
Yeah.
do that as much as possible, sir.
So, to refresh my memory, we have condemned this property, correct?
I believe so, yes.
That's posted, and it's posted. Have you, in light of people getting in the back door?
I believe I've taken care of that now. Like I said, when this first happened, I put the lock on the front door and put boards over the back door areas. The other door was secure. When they came by Friday, that's the first time I've seen that door open. The secondary door that was in that room was locked still. I do not believe anybody has been in there since maybe the initial issue of that. When I've gone by there yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, it's not Saturday, I can't remember exactly. I did not see anybody trying to, nothing that looked like it was anybody trying to pry anything off or, gain access to the building anymore.
How many hours a day you work?
Usually, even at this there in my normal job.
You have, what times do you get out on
I usually go in from 11 to about 9:30 at night at work, Monday through Friday. And then on Sundays, I come in for about 4 hours to do an order.
the, just think days getting longer, at 5, 6 o'clock, you have time for
I wish I could. I don't have that option with the way my job is. Right now, like I was speaking of too, is I'm hoping with the front room cleared out now on Saturdays, what I plan on doing is going in there, bagging up as much stuff as I physically can. Then on the weekdays, come in and move all the bags out from the building.
You don't work on weekends, no?
For my regular job, I work on Sundays for about 4 hours or so a day. Sunday to do an order and to make sure stuff is happening, and doing extra stuff I need to get done.
We got your telephone number?
Yes.
Okay.
You, Cameron, communicating peacefully now?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I take this very seriously, gentlemen. I'm trying to expedite this as quickly as I physically can.
I could probably get you in touch with some affordable labor. We've got contact information. I don't want to be out of line from the housing commission what I'm doing, but if I can refer some people to work for you to expedite this project, maybe I can give them your telephone number.
Okay.
They can contact you.
If they would just tell them to call and leave a message, I might not answer. I've been getting a lot of phone calls from telemarket callers. So I've been letting some things go to voicemail just because it's the robocalls.
Can they text you?
Yes, that'd be great. That'd be a lot better actually, because then I can know it actually is the person.
Make a motion to move April 13th, 2020.
You got a motion and a second. Do a roll call, please.
One, real quickly, I want to make sure, because right now you're just moving just to reset it. Are you also wanting the compliance with the previous order that was entered on February 10th?
I'd like to see that order here too for April 13th meeting.
Okay, so, and by way of recollection, that's matter to be reset for April 13th. He needs to continue to make repairs or efforts to remediate the conditions of the debris. He must obtain the order of the services of a professional exterminator to undertake immediate services at the property to eradicate the rodent infestation. He must bring in documentation evidencing the services taken by the exterminator, as well as a report of the exterminator's findings and a report of the effectiveness of such exterminator services. He must also contact city officials to schedule a subsequent property inspection. Mr. McAllister, when do you want to do that?
We can do the Friday before the next meeting.
And that date specifically would be April 10th.
April 10th?
Oh, it's not on.
Okay,
The 11th or the 9th is fine.
Okay, all right, April the 9th.
so that's the third day.
And then we'll have those today. Correct.
Correct. To the extent, Mr. Green, it sounds like Mr. McAllister took photographs on Friday, which you're now claiming to be not current based upon some efforts.
I mean, they're not that
My
uncurrent.
point is, bring photographs.
Okay.
And then, we're supposed to this time as well.
Well, his photographs, I believe, the photo would be.
All right, so to simplify it, Mr. Willis, why don't we just say you're willing to continue past this to April 13th with all other conditions of the February order incorporated into this one?
Okay. I would make a motion to move this to April 13th, 2020, 5:30 PM, with the stipulations that codes will inspect on April the 9th.
Go ahead and set a time.
And what time?
Yep.
I really think it's better.
We can do 9.
Okay. At 9 AM on that day, with Mr. Green bringing us up-to-date photos on the 13th that you take prior to coming to this meeting, so we can see them. And then all other codicils that were put forth in March move forward intact to this motion. That good?
I'm okay with this.
Okay, I need a second.
And I'll second it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Get a roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Board Member Rizel.
Yes.
Board Member Rogers.
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. You're going to send you names, correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get the contact information.
Mr. Green?
Pardon?
He's still here, yeah. Yeah. Stay here, we're gonna get that order for you.
That way you'll have it.
There's no confusion as to what your requirements are for April.
Next property on the agenda is 5346 Ringo Road. This is a continuation from a meeting held February the 10th. Can you bring us up to date on it?
So we went in and did an inspection to see what kind of progress that they've made, and they continue to make progress. They've lowered actually the number of tenants, so people have been removed that were kind of a big issue, and they're doing what they can to make progress and cleaning up the property. So I'm pretty satisfied with what I'm seeing so far, as long as they keep in contact with us, and we've got no problems with letting them just continue.
Okay.
And I owe you guys an apology for last month. I was supposed to be here, and for some reason I had it in my head that it was Tuesday. So I literally came in on Tuesday morning, making sure that, what time it was, and they're like, yeah, it was last night. So that was on me, and I apologize. I don't mean to waste your time. But as far as what's been going on down there, we've had, problem tenants down there. People coming in, leaving bikes out there. My office is just right over here behind Max Highway Market, so I go through and when I drive by, if I see a bicycle out there, I just pull up with my dump trailer. If it's not locked up, I grab it and throw it in the dumpster. Basically, anybody that's not supposed to be there, I've been doing my best to run him off. As far as upgrades to the property, we've started over with Unit 8 and been working back. We've done some things as far as upgrading flooring, new sheetrock or paneling in there, doing our best on the bathrooms. We've got one of my actual employees that's living there now, so he's doing a better job of keeping an eye on the property. We're doing everything we can as the property managers to be able to keep motion moving forward while still getting a little bit of resistance from the owner, but about spending the money, but we're making progress.
Is the owner going to come down and talk to us?
I don't think he does, but
Maybe we need to see him.
maybe we do, but we've been, I'm sorry, I'm Scott Schrader. My wife is Michelle Schrader. She's the property manager. I'm also a licensed contractor. I'm sorry? John Cleaves, that's correct.
Well, the property is actually G&M Properties LLC.
That's correct. And we represent them.
Gleaves, John Gleaves.
I believe that's the correct spelling, yes. So we're not only, so we own a roofing company, paint remodeling company, and we're also licensed electricians. So we've been going through, trying to make sure things are getting done, they're done the right way. It's not as fast as I would like, or obviously as you would like, but we are making steady progress.
How much longer are we looking at to this complete?
I don't know. I mean, we've got, so we did have a walkthrough with a few of the codes officials, and we were asking questions about, things as far as electrical and about, we got some resolution on some things we could do as far as tenants like taking down smoke detectors, because we'll put them on, and of course, if they're sitting inside their room smoking or vaping or whatever, it automatically sets them off, and then they just take them, destroy them to make them stop making noise. But we've got some plans now in the leases, if we go in during our inspections, which we're trying to do inspections at least every 2 weeks, go in and tell them, hey, if you mess with one of those, that's immediate grounds for eviction, because you're messing with life safety equipment. And so we're trying to, as we can get the worst of the worst out of there, that we can, the biggest thing is the worst vermin in there, honestly, some of the people, as opposed to some of the.
Even the trouble unit that we took pictures of that horrified us is empty. So, I mean, that alone is progress in
Unit
itself.
4 was an issue, and that was
Yes.
the big issue that they had.
Absolutely.
We basically we finally got them out, and once we got them out, we have not put anyone back in. We would run through a couple of weeks of we put somebody out, and then they'd come in and kick doors.
How many units do you have that meet the minimum standards to rent them?
Well, I mean, as far as minimum standards,
You got running water, heat in there.
yes. So I'd say we've probably got maybe 6 that are in there. Well, no, of the total thing, we've probably got 8 and then 3. So we've probably got 2 out of 11. Maybe 3 out of 11.
I have a question for you. Mr. Land, is there any violation under commercial property disabling a smoke alarm that could be penalized, arrested, fined, taken to jail?
Yes, I believe it's Mr. Check.
And he was the one that recommended that to us when we did the inspection.
Very clear to them.
Oh, yeah.
I recommend they run it their lease.
And that's what
When
we've
they do
done.
their monthly spec inspection, if the smoke detector's been altered in any way, then they have grounds for eviction.
We're putting it in there that not only, it's a $500 fine, and then it's also grounds for emergency eviction.
Okay, works for us.
I was pleased with that.
Thank you, Mr. Land.
Mr. Schroeder, what's the contact address for you?
For just a business address,
Or whatever, you're receiving bails.
1420, let's see, you can just do it at 1808 Rock Bluff Road. Rock Bluff, that's 2 words, Nixon, Tennessee, 37343.
Okay, but continue the case, or
Yeah. Make a motion, we pass this case for April 13th.
I'll second.
Is there anything that, so we're not continually doing this, so I can have something to take back to the property owner?
well, you can go back and tell him we condemned the property, and he's
Oh,
got 30 days to get it up to code.
I'd love to.
Let's get a bulldozer out.
Tell him if he doesn't expedite things, we will make sure that property sits there for 6 months. And have it, he won't be up for condemnation.
Okay.
That's the best way he is in his pocket.
Yeah, he needs to get on the ball and get it up to code, so we don't have to continue seeking it.
He needs to come live there for a month.
Yeah. I'd say that might get him to expedite a little The actual house that's there with it, you know, they went in and they hired a different contractor to come in and do some of the work. So that took a while. Now that contractor has, you know, been removed from the project, and, you know, we're going in and fixing things, you know, as they come along.
What kind of renovations are you doing that takes so long?
Well, I mean, basically what we do is we go in, you know, we're ripping out flooring. We're doing it as we got people out. So, you know, we'd go in and we took once it was empty, we went in, we did all new flooring, we did sheet rock, we did things like that. But a lot of it is, you know, just getting the go-ahead from the owner to go ahead and do it. So we've been working within our limitations as representing the property owner, because ultimately that's our job, but then again, we have to answer to you as well, so we're trying to push things along, so.
Technically, it's him that has to answer to us. You know, so we can tighten things up a little bit more.
Well, we've gone through and we've gone in and we've looked at updating the electrical. So we've gotten some prices together on that, and I think that's the biggest thing that we're running into is the electrical. So,
Because people have messed with it, so.
yeah. And so for us, it's like some of these, the electrical needs to be updated. We don't want to go in and start doing things like, you know, fixing sheet rock or anything like that, because we're gonna have to tear it all back up again. So,
Maybe he needs to just spend a little, dig a little deeper in his pocket to get this moving faster. Our council and stuff.
Yeah.
Eyesore area.
well, and the biggest part of the eyesore is, as much as anything, has been the people. And, you know, like I said, I have done everything within my power to be just a total pain in their sides to you know, make sure that somebody that's not bringing other people in, more people than what should be in the unit, or just going in the bike situation, and finally, it's just, I start on the ground and just toss them. You know, if they
I'd
look
like to
like
make a
that.
recommendation to the board to have the property owner here at the next meeting.
Probably won't do it. But I would like to amend the motion that I made. I would like for Mr. Glaze to be here present at 5:30 p.m. on April 13th. I'm sure he'll be in the hospital, he'll be in bed, no excuses.
Okay.
Two, we will continue to move forward as we are. You taking pictures, bringing them to us that day. With all of the other ordinances that are requested, we put in the previous motion last month. So that we rescind my motion.
Just a second, the amended.
Yeah, rescind my motion, Mr. Carson.
Second.
And I'll second his.
Okay.
May I have a roll call, please?
And you can let him know, we very nice for this one.
May I have a roll call, please?
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Board Member Gazelle.
Yes.
Board Member Rogers.
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes. Okay, we'll see you next meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Meeting now.
Next property is 712 Summit Avenue. Have a representative here.
Are you getting tired of seeing us?
This is only your second or third meeting here, isn't it?
Tired of this property, right? You've been here before. Okay,
Oh, you know I have.
that's right, okay.
Any updates on this property?
Definitely. We went out there last week. Ms. Stoller has definitely got some work done. I'll pass some pictures around so you guys can see. It looks good. She's got some work still to do, but we talked about getting the electrical split. Mr. Stoller has started the rezoning process. with Melissa to try and get the property rezoned so it can be rented out as a quadplex rather than just a duplex. But it has to be rezoned before the election can be split.
I knew at the last meeting it was going to be more than a 30-day project, so I'm glad you're making progress.
He started with RPA, he was not looking for that leave for, for City of Eastern. He started with RPA, but he hasn't, I gave him the paperwork to fill out to bring to me, and he has not done that.
Mr. McCaskill, what's your recommendation?
I'd definitely like to pass this case. I know that Ms. Dollar is working efficiently to try and get everything back up to code. We definitely don't have to wait I know she wants to rent the bottom units.
Yeah, I would like to rent the bottom units because they will be okay as far as with the electrical.
The panels are in the bottom units. So if she were just to utilize the bottom 2 units as a duplex style structure, that was something that we were going to discuss. As far as the upstairs units, they don't have access to the electrical panels, so we advised that she didn't rent those.
All right, so this property, as I showed from our last order, was that it had, by agreement of the parties, it had been remaining condemned until today. Is it a position that you're comfortable with the downstairs units?
Not yet. If we could pass it for 30 more days, just to let her finish the.
Cosmetic work has to be done. It's okay as far as plumbing, any areas patched that had to be, but we'll be putting in for painting.
You're okay with remaining condemned?
Well, I wish it would only be like a couple of weeks. I think we could get that done in a couple of weeks. I'm not used to them ever being closed off. I took care of it for 14 years. My son come back to the area and I thought, I'd like to have them, I'm not going to have this and my husband, it's the deacon, but it hasn't worked out well. He was more used to dealing with people that was going to be building a new house, and he built a new house for them. With these 14 years that you're dealing with drug addicts, people, all sorts. And I have 40 years of psych nursing behind me. I've dealt with almost everything. I dealt with him and kept everything up to par. I think he expected more out of the people. And it's like, no, you gotta have a hands-on experience. You gotta know what's going on in those apartments. And so that's where we stand. It puts us in a financial bind with everything closed off. So if we can open to, even if I move it, we're a little undecided on what we're gonna do. Since he works at Valley Hospital and they do group homes, we have even considered seeing how the zoning would have to be on that. We're gonna check into all of that, and so that's another reason that it had, to decide exactly what we're gonna do. But at least if the 2 units on the bottom could be rented out.
So the units on the bottom have heating and air now?
Yes, they always, everything always had heating and air.
Well, the tenant testified the last time they were using space heaters to heat with.
I don't know.
I would suggest that we have a Fred with us go out to the property. I know that he had come out once just as a friend of Rick, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if.
I don't know him, so
Okay.
I know who Fred was.
So if we could put that in motion, just have an electrical inspection done the property before at least the bottom 2 units were rented. I haven't seen the HVAC on or off. They've been working for the last 90 days, so I don't know if they're using it, so I can't testify.
How about all the plumbing, is it up to go?
For the most part, I mean, we don't see anything that's out of code at the moment, but we'll definitely look again just to verify that before.
All the entrances and exits and all the windows up to go now?
There was one broken window and they replaced it. The back deck has been replaced, not in its entirety, but they have replaced the rod pieces, stabilized it, pressure washed, things like that, cleaned up the property on the bottom, cleaned out the bottom garage. So they're definitely on track, we're just not there yet.
I mean, if we have to, we can wait for another month.
Well, I know you probably need your money, having the new property sitting there, but enforcement will go out there, inspect everything before they're allowed to, before they're allowed to, two bottom units.
I think what happened on that thing, had a woman that somehow knew there was an empty apartment, and through the night, she just moved in. So she probably is the one that was using the space heaters and
Believe me,
stuff, and started all the trouble.
I know about real property. My wife and I can tell you about that. I wish I'd never seen it.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, somebody want to put it in the form of a motion. So I said, that codes enforcement go out.
And if I understand it, is it code enforcement to go out and perhaps lift the accommodation relative to the downstairs portion of the structure?
If it's,
Provided that it passes to that.
What are the bottom, is it 15, 16?
No, they're 16 and 17 numbers. Now, there is a, and I haven't gone in and just checked all of that, but I did see that there will have to be a, okay, it's the thing that turns the heat and air on the wall, a thermostat. Somebody's jerked that off the wall. But they have done that many times in the past.
well, either it's up to code or it's not up to
Right,
code.
I mean, I just say, I know that that's not up to code. So, I guess, I wait a couple of weeks, come over, look at it. It's been difficult. I work, my son works, everybody works, and then trying to pull this into, between that and all the rain that we had. But things are looking better now, so. At least a few more days to get that done. I have a regular air conditioning man, had the same one for years and years. I don't. I just get him to come on out. Well, that'd be good, just go ahead and get him to come out and check both the units. That's what I'll do. And that needs done anyway.
Fred will go out. We'll coordinate that.
Yeah, we can do that and get an inspection scheduled. Potentially the same day that we're there,
Okay.
if possible.
So make a motion, we pass this to April 13th, with the exception of the bottom units 16 and 17 can be rented after codes enforcement agrees that it's ready.
I second.
Okay. We need a roll call vote, please. We have a motion and second.
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Board Member Ezell.
Yes.
Board Member Rogers.
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes. See you in 30 days. Good luck on the inspection.
We want to buy into rental property. Do what?
There's a lot of people that would like to have.
Oh, I know, I get calls all the time. And I have other rental property, but it's just not in that part of town and this repair.
But it's a good location.
Yeah,
We'll
I
get it
mean,
right.
yeah,
I know you're working hard to get it done.
yeah, and
Good luck.
we'll get it done.
Best.
I mean, I stepped out for 2 years. I should
Glad
have
you
waited
stepped
a
back.
while.
Well, good luck on getting the inspection done, completing the project.
We'll get it done.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, we've got some, a few wonderful renters. I have a girl that's been there for 13 years. And,
They're few and far between.
yeah, she's been good.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next property on the agenda is 5504 Clemens Road.
Actually, if we can wait just a second, I wanted to move down to 320 Frawley Street. We're gonna close that case. Mr. Goodner actually passed away, I believe it's been 2 weeks now. So his daughter, Miss Bradley, she has gotten the property ready to sell. It's just a matter of time before it's listed on the market.
Was that 3320
Frawley Street.
Crawley?
Anyhow,
You want to close that?
Yes.
will the prospective buyers, will they be aware of?
The house is pretty, it was in compliance the month of February. We just passed it 30 days to see how Mr. Goodner was doing once he came home, but he was placed on hospice care within a week of being home and passed away 2 weeks ago, so.
Let's just, for purposes of being able to issue this order, I'd like to vote.
I Need somebody to make a motion to close this case, please. Okay, I have a motion to close. Close 3320 Raleigh Street. I have a motion to say we get a roll call vote, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Rogers,
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes, ma'am. Next property is 5504 Clemens Road. We have a representative here for that property. Do you have any updates on that property?
Yes, he has everything secured on that property, and he's just waiting. He bought all of the properties that she owns in East Ridge, actually, so, we can close this one out.
Well, if it's already been condemned and it's not on the ground yet, I'd prefer to keep it open until it's on the ground.
It doesn't need to be open in this, he won't need to
It'd
be
be
here.
the same, one buying the property on Berry Road.
No, this guy is, seriously, this needs to just be removed from the housing commission.
All righty.
No, like I said, he's bought all of the other properties and he's secured them as they're supposed to be, and he's just waiting on being able to pull permits for each of them. But he's got about 7 that he just purchased. So, this one doesn't need to remain in housing commission.
Okay. When you drive by, it looks like it needs to be there. Unless you're gonna put it on the National Historic Preservation list.
There's not gonna be any update anytime soon, so if there's ever an update, then I'll let you know. But until then, no need to waste time on it here.
Okay, we have a motion from one of the board members to close this case out.
I'll make a motion to close the case. If it's battle for Clemens Road.
We have a motion to second to close it based on the building codes enforcement. Have a roll call vote, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Ezell,
Yes.
Board Member Rogers,
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Based on codes enforcement, yes. Next property, 1702 Pridmore Avenue. Have a representative here. Give us a report on 1702, please.
So we went in, and did an inspection on that, and nothing much really changed. The tenant was out, I believe, he got arrested. So, to my understanding, we haven't really gotten done in terms of the electrical, but not for lack of trying. The exterior of the property has actually been cleaned up quite a bit, which is nice. The car's gone, a bunch of the stuff is gone, so that's fabulous. To my understanding, there's a potential buyer for the property as well, so this might be fantastic if we get out of here as well. But the previous tenant's mother's been going by to clean up the exterior. They're having trouble getting inside because the previous tenant secured it himself, so that's exactly what we don't want to go inside, so that's good. So we'll just continue it at this point.
So you haven't seen it, so.
I've seen it originally, and then I've done one from our last housing commission meeting, but we talked in between there, and no progress has really been made at the moment, but like I said, not for lack of trying. It's just a matter of finding an electrician to come in and do the work that's reasonable that you can afford, and so on and so forth. But as long as the property is getting cleaned up on the outside and remains secured, then I'm good with just waiting on progress.
Get the meter pulled on it.
Yes,
Because they're
absolutely.
running illegal electric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We pulled it, that's the very first day that we were there.
That's not over the other day.
Yep.
Yeah.
State your name, please, just for a matter of record.
Heather Schmidt.
Okay.
It's my mother's property, and basically she has, well, the last time I was here, she was in life care. She's moved in with me. I've quit work to take care of her, so her Social Security payment kind of substitutes for my lack of right now. So, just income wise, it's been hard to find somebody that will come out and assess the electrical, without a fee.
I found a couple. One didn't show up. One, my husband, with how it was secured, I was having my husband come and meet so he could get into the property for us. And he was unable to leave work due to an emergency of another employee, and so he had to stay. And then I've had one here in East Ridge that I've contacted twice, and they were supposed to call me back, and they never did. So, but yes, the person that was there that had all the debris, they had been cleaning up. He was supposed to have rented a dumpster to clean up the remainder, but he went to jail apparently. I found out after the weekend that he was supposed to rent it. So, but they had already done quite a bit, and we go by once a week and check the property. So that's just where it's at right now. It looks like the work, I mean, just financially, it can't be afforded to fix it. And so we're just hoping that either this person is going to buy it, I don't know what their plans are, if they want to remodel or tear it down. I would not want it tore down, just for the simple fact that it is the only thing that my mother has in possession. And I would like for her to, I mean, my dad worked his whole life for it, he's already deceased, and I would like for her to be able to make something off of it, just for, you know, end of life things, you know, things like that. So hopefully this works out. We also have kind of given thought to my husband's family. They, part of them, they actually own several properties here in East Ridge and East Brainerd that they live and rent out. And so we've given thought to talking to them, and actually we have talking to them briefly about it, and she said that if we ever come to that decision, they would come out and tell us if they think it would be worth it. So
right now you have a potential buyer?
yes, it's just someone that is a family friend, and they're young, and they just are trying to find something. We're not trying to sell it for, you know, a lot. We know it needs work, and they approached us about it. So it was just something that come along, and I personally don't want to have to deal with it. I don't even own my own home, so this is kind of a pain in the rear for me. I'm just doing it because my mother literally can't walk from there to here without getting winded and needing a break. So she's unable to do anything at this point. And I have 2 kids, and so if you have kids, you understand how it is to always be on the move with them, and what little time, and just with the rain also. I was going to rent a dumpster myself and go do some cleaning up, but between kid schedules and the rain schedule that never seems to end, we just haven't, it's not worked out. I'm not going to waste $200 to rent a dumpster and not get to use it. I mean, it's just.
What's code enforcement's recommendation on this process?
Well, if she's got potential buyers, and see what happens with the buyer. So we just get it passed and give her a chance to get the property sold.
Like I said, we went by there. It stayed maintained. All the stuff still behind the garage, but it's behind the privacy fence too.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's a major progress on what it was before. It's major progress, so as long as it's even potentially gonna be bought, then let's just let it go.
But the policeman.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
I would prefer that.
Riff raff out.
Yes, yeah, we go by almost weekly to just make sure, know when is it requested in, and, you know, nobody's going in and out. Yeah, so.
Alright. That's it.
Make a motion to pass this April 13th and stay
Have a motion for that, get a roll call.
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Board Member Ezell.
Yes.
Board Member Rogers.
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, it's passed for 1 month. We'll see what develops between them next month, okay?
All right, thank you.
Next property is 5404 Clemens Road. We have a representative here for that property.
I spoke with the attorney on this one, or at least communicated with him, and correct me if I'm wrong, the stage group, it sounds like, I understand the property has been condemned, that all occupants have been removed, and egress and ingress has been resolved because it's all boarded up. Is that right?
That's correct.
Right. I understand they're working on selling it.
Yes.
The attorney had requested that no further action be taken at this time, since it has been boarded up, no entry can occur, it remained condemned, to allow them an opportunity to sell it. I understand the code enforcement, are you all okay with that?
Absolutely.
I think all entries are they boarded up.
Nobody's got a point in that, right?
Yes.
Oh.
So, the only reason, no one's allowed to stay in that house, period. So they're not allowed, if they go into the house for any reason, stuff on that property, they call us.
What about the overgrowth on the property? Who's responsible for it during this time period?
Brush that's grown up.
So, I mean, we can discuss that with the owner, but that's honestly the least of our concerns right now.
It's not fair for the neighbors. Most of the other neighbors down there maintain their property well, except this one's overgrown pretty bad.
Okay, so
I mean, we can discuss if maybe the city could help out with that, but, I mean, we don't, like I said, it's the least of our major concerns at the moment, but that is something that we can discuss.
Okay. All right.
go out and look at it and see what your thoughts are.
I've seen it.
Next property on the agenda is 3707 Larry Lane. We have a representative.
Well, hold on, we need to make sure I have a vote on this.
I thought it was already condemned.
It is, let's pass it. I understand we're going to pass it April 15th.
Yes.
Keep the condemnation intact.
Okay.
And no
We have
entry.
a motion on the floor to pass 5404 Clemens Road.
Make a motion to pass 54 Clemens Road to April the 13th with the condemnation order still standing.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Give a roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Board Member Ezell.
Yes.
Board Member Rogers.
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, next property is 3707 Larry Lane.
Section 3701, Larry Lane?
3707.
Oh, is it a one? It's a one.
Sorry.
Okay.
Is it a
It's
typo?
3701.
Okay. We have a representative here for that property.
No, I told him not to come,
Okay.
because we're gonna close it out. I got some pictures that I'd be more than happy to show you guys. The amount of progress that he's made. Yeah, so he's been more than willing to put in the work. So, yeah. So I told him I'm good with getting this one closed out, and he's been great with contacting me, texting me, emailing me, and everything, so, I think that he's done more than sufficient amount of work.
Make a motion, we remove, close the case. Did you get the truck license to remove, pick up truck in front yard, or drop it?
I haven't asked him, but I'll make a note to ask him about the truck.
We don't mean to nitpick, but that is.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's something he was using, I think, but whether it was tagged or not, I think he was using it. I'll make a note here though. That was clean already.
All right.
Yeah. He's cleaned it up considerably, didn't
Yes, he has.
he? Okay.
Progressed.
Did we get a second?
Yes, yes.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Give a roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Board Member Ezell.
Yes.
Board Member Rogers.
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, our next property on schedules 5313 DuPont Street. We have a representative here for that property. Could I get your folks' name,
Yes.
record, please?
My name is Dee Hobbs. I'm an attorney representing B&D Properties, the owner. This is Janice Sloan, one of the managing agents for B&D. Hey, how are you?
What was Miss Sloan?
Janice Long.
Janice.
Long.
How are you?
I remember you from somewhere in the past.
You want to take straight?
Indeed, I did.
What year did you graduate, don't mind me asking?
74.
That was my time here.
Charlie lived on Rose Street.
That's right.
Randy was your yes.
Yes, ma'am. Can you give us a report, please?
So we came across this property from a concerned resident. When we arrived, we immediately noticed that there was tarping and damages on the roof from the outside. The current tenant, was more than willing to let us in the house. And when we did, obviously pictures show that not only is the ceiling and insulation falling in, the floor is bowing, the walls are cracking. You can see outside and some portions of the property by the electrical panel. There's significant water damage. It was even stated to us that when you flip the light switch, you just kind of had hope for the best. If you got shocked, you got shocked. If not, then well, you had a good day, I guess. But there's significant damages in the bathroom. They cannot use the sink. They had to cut the wall out to turn off the water to that sink because it was spraying out so badly. The floor next to the toilet is sagging, sinking in.
And this home was occupied.
This home was occupied, yes.
Is it occupied now?
No, it is not. They left that day. They had other places to go. Whenever we stopped and talked to them the first time, they stated to us that they had been planning on getting out for a while because they couldn't get anybody to come and fix what that needed to be fixed. There's obvious outdoor water damage. Things are rotting. Things are falling off. There's holes in places where holes shouldn't be. This photo here, pretty sure you got a lot of pictures. That's outside. The topple that's out of the house, in case you can't tell what that is.
Mr. Hobbs, what are your intentions?
If I might. First off, the concerns of the city of East Ridge were well taken, as well as those of the neighbors. However, we take significant issue with any insinuation on the part of the tenant that the tenant has made the first complaint. Rent was paid on this house was gutted approximately 8 years ago and redone. After a short tenancy by another tenant on March 27th, 6 years ago, these tenants began occupancy. Complaints have come to the city regarding abandoned vehicles, a tree problem, furniture on the porch, items in the yard, a second citation, overgrown walls. All tenant responsibilities, which of course the landlord had to pressure the tenants to deal with, if you're getting the picture. Speaking of pictures, if you will see the gross misuse of the property by the tenants through these years, which is frankly a problem the landlord gets into. It cuts both ways. You have tenants that never complain, and that's because they're happy and they're keeping their premises in pretty good shape. Then you have tenants who never complain because they're paying $610 a month rent through last month, by the way. We have received no notice to quit on this month-to-month tenancy, which is now month-to-month. We have received no request for service calls from the tenant. Now, all of that said, that simply indicates that B&D has not tried to act in any regard in bad faith here. That being said, If in fact these folks are out, if they're out, then what we're asking for, it'll save us having to pay for a detainer warrant having evicted. We would ask for the opportunity to provide a remediation plan for this house. We do not think the house has to be demolished. There is no question that the house is going to have to be gutted, probably taken down to the studs, and redone. We would ask for 60 days to come up with a remediation plan. We'll be happy to come in here and present it to you. And what we intend to do is try to...
It's a present condition, it doesn't meet the minimum standards. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
We won't argue with the city in saying that these premises are not habitable at present. Right. We just don't want this board to think we're not going to work with the city, or that all the fault of this falls on the landlord. But it isn't. These tenants in certain circumstances have actively resisted efforts, for instance, to have their filters replaced on the house. You'd be surprised how tenants will sometimes create their own problems with their HVAC system because they refuse to give entry. What are we going to do? Get a court order or not? It's something we have to deal with.
Is the house secure now? Is it locked up?
I mean, the people who were there are going in and out getting their things, but they're not staying there. So, I mean.
So you don't need a eviction?
We don't, that'd be great.
They're gone, right?
Well, we don't know that.
Yeah, they were more than happy to leave.
Okay, how
They're
about,
still coming and going.
They're not staying there, but they have to get their things out, so.
No, they're still occupancy
So,
there.
yeah.
So when they're paid up through when?
They paid through February, they've not paid for March.
Okay, so, first of all, how many properties do you own this year?
We manage probably 20, 22.
When you put your lease in front of people, did you specifically put in your lease that you have the right to come in X date, number of times a year to inspect the properties?
It does state that we have right to inspection.
Did you do that?
No,
Why not?
if we don't have costs that do,
I know people that own 70 homes here, and they mandatorily make their tenants get inspected once a year. And to me, if you're going to rent, then you need a responsible landlord or tenant or property owner or whatever it is. You need, with the growing number of people that are renting, you need those kind of check and balances in place. And if it means that, you know, if they can't adhere to the contract that you put forward, you know, my understanding it would be wise if you could send somebody in once a month to physically change the filters.
we do have someone on staff that does that, but when they get you at the door and say, we change our own filter, or we don't want you to come in, then we don't force them to us.
Do we have a way to adopt a code for the future that they must let the people in to inspect?
Well, no, I mean, that's a private dispute. We can't enforce it.
That they could put it in a lease?
Right, we can't require her to do that.
Because if they broke any of the restrictions in the lease, then you'd have a way to get them out.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we're sitting on, right now, we're taking a lot of heat from citizens. We're sitting about 50, 51% rental property in the city. We know from generational aspects, it's going to continue to increase. And rental properties are giving us an amount of rent in this city. 4 years, we saw median income because of people coming in and renting drop $25,000 income, $59,000 to $34,000, and we need to change that. Peace Ridges, we're trying to clean that, and we realize the beauty of the city, the convenience, but properties like this really hurt a subdivision and a community, and you've got to put some kind of check and balances in place so it doesn't get to this point where it's this bad. Because one of the timbers I'm looking at here, looks like there's been a fire in this house. Has it?
Not that I'm aware of.
So, Mr. Collins, you want to look at this?
Sure.
Sir.
Are those two up there?
We had to post it condemned until after this meeting.
Well, then if we black them up, then, you know, you
Sure.
be charged.
Absolutely. And what the city, and having to be here and show up. All we're saying is, if we're wrong in our assessment, the only reason that I would offer that it can be gutted and rebuilt is because it wasn't that long ago it was done. But if we're wrong and it needs to come down, then
It's going to take you 60 days to get a remediation plan. It seems to me you could walk through, get an idea of what you need to do, and move forward with it.
we sure would like the opportunity for them to get their stuff out. We're sitting on March 9th. If I end up, I understand what the inspector's saying, but we cannot take possession of these premises until they are out.
Yeah, but we can seal it where they can't go in. And then they have to meet you there on your terms.
If the city wants to seal it and make arrangements with my client in order to give us access, that'll be fine.
I'd like to make a recommendation to the board to go ahead and condemn the property, and that'll give you time to do your estimates. And in meantime, if you see that you can get it back up to code, all you gotta do is pull a building and permit with the city codes enforcement and show them a plan, and we can pull the condemnation of it.
Could we possibly do that without having to condemn?
Well,
We condemn it, it keeps them out, and then they have to give you a time and date that they're going to be there to get the rest of their stuff out.
that property is not, it's not even habitable with the sink not working.
No,
the bathroom
we-
was going, raining
bad.
out. Yeah, nobody needs to be living in that property.
Problem is and I understand your concern, you want the stuff out.
Absolutely.
You want the stuff out. By condemning it, it doesn't necessarily give them the right. It's not necessarily going to cause them to remove the items. It also doesn't necessarily give them the right to go take the items. By condemning it, we've sort of frozen in time. Charles, I don't know that we can necessarily go in and make that, you know that as well, that we can't necessarily authorize you to go in and get it, but although we'd love to weaponize you to do that.
Shouldn't be given a time frame to get all this stuff out?
I mean,
And
we,
I don't know what they've gotten out from the day that we were there to now, but they were actively removing their things.
yeah, I'm sorry, I mean, when did you open for the photographs?
February 17th.
Mr. Hobbs, you know what's happened for the last 2 weeks?
I do not.
Okay.
Other than the fact that the tenants have not reported that they were terminating month to month or anything like that. We have literally heard nothing from them.
The one option would be we could find the property is certainly in violation of certain codes that would probably, and I think would give rise to you under the Tenant Act to be able to make an immediate notice of eviction and have eviction proceedings commenced. I don't think they have another.
No.
Okay.
Looking at the codes violations that I'm reading, it needs to be condemned, it's not good for occupancy.
Period.
Correct.
One day road.
Right. And the photographs, sure.
So that's pretty much has to be done.
And then you see where it looks like a rat or something, just shoot through one of the 2x4s just about.
Mr. Hobbs, what is your concern if they could condemn it? What's your concern? Make sure.
Well, we just feel like we can go in there and take care of everything without it being condemned. We're afraid that if it is condemned, that it's gonna make it hard for us to.
Well, make sure, now, by condemning, we're not suggesting demolition. We're just simply restricting access into construction.
Code's not fit to live in. That's what we're doing.
Condemnation really does is give you the option if you want to keep anybody out, other than you tell them to go in there and work. It allows the workers to go in and work. It allows you to go in and work. It allows your attorney to go in and inspect. But other than that, the tenants can't go in, and whoever walks down the street can't go in because it'd be criminal trespass.
Until it's repaired.
And if you don't repair it, within a reasonable time, then we will condemn it.
Sure.
To be demolished.
Does that perhaps resolve some of the concerns, Ms. Long and Mr. Hollis?
I think so. I think so.
Other neighbors aren't real thrilled.
Well, the neighbors understandably want something done. Incidentally, call
calls to B&B properties that come from neighbors, God's tenants, at various times about complaining about the cars, complaining about the grass, etc.
Perhaps one option, Mr. Wilson, would be also to include in connection with the common, you could have a kind of a drop dead date, that no entry can occur without, a professional contract. That might give you sort of what you're looking for to provide to the tenants, if they haven't already cleaned it. Now, it sounds like they might have.
So I know where the tenant is staying, so I can contact her and get that information
Well,
if they've got it
perhaps,
right now.
we think we can contact her, or him, whoever it is. Let's, her, and you all have not had contact with the tenant, okay?
Didn't even know that it took out.
Okay. I'm just trying to think of a way to really resolve what your concern is, which I think condemnation is actually going to be effective for you. I don't know that it necessarily gives you the right to go in and take it, which is what Mr. Hobbs is saying, but we can put at least in the order, a deadline date for all items to be removed. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be authorized to go in and get it the day after, but perhaps you can use that as leverage to tell the tenant, or the former tenant, that's the last time they're going to have access into it. And I'm not suggesting you go in and remove it. Mr. Hobbs can help you with that idea. That's at least something, and then we show back up here on April 13th. And perhaps at that time you had an opportunity to, items have been removed. One of them says an inspection date.
10 days.
You want to
Everything has to be removed in 10 days. It's less than 800 square feet.
A little bit faster than that. I was gonna say everything needs to be out on this Friday the 13th, as well,
As far as the tenant,
that gives us a forced eviction, or limiting access, and that gives you a documentation to go to court and force the eviction.
Everything we can, after the 13th, can be working on it.
You can.
Well, talk about after April 13th.
Okay.
after Friday, this Friday.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, that's what it is, Friday 13th.
That you'll have to pull permits.
Right, yeah, the permits will need to be pulled so that the code enforcement knows that the entry is occurring, it's just by professionals and not by former tenants or other. And if you're okay with that, that sounds like we may have a resolution for this.
That'd be fine.
Okay. Could you put that in the form of a motion?
Okay. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that property 5313 DuPont Street be condemned effective today. And no other occupancy will occur in the property. The present tenants that are there must have all their belongings and everything out by the 13th of March, this Friday at 12 in Eastern Standard Time. And at that time, they will also use the keys to either one of you, so that we know those keys are in your possession. And then I just suggest you change your keys.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Get a roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Wilson.
Yes.
Board Member Ezel.
Yes.
Board Member Rogers.
Yes.
Chairman Winters.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Hobbs, we'll have an order, we can get to you, Mr. Hobbs. I have your appeal box. You got an email address? I know I probably have. You and I email on our government stuff.
Use it on government if you want to. That'd be fine.
It's not showing. Here it is. Got that right?
Got it.
Okay, yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Do we have any other business to come before the board?
Yeah, I've got one other thing real quick.
Okay.
That's not, he just has an update.
You don't look like a fool, come speak for your wife without talking to her first. So, I've been working out of town on some jobs, and so when I left here, I spoke to her about the requirement for Mr. Gleaves to come in and about what I told y'all about the properties. There's now only one unit that has not had new flooring, new sheetrock and things like that put on. We're replacing outlets and things like that. That's unit 4. That was the one that we had the woman that was the problem. We're putting together a scope of work and he's going to go ahead and approve that now. On the electrical updates, we gave a price for the $14,000. I thought he was holding off on that because he did not want to, spend the money on it. He's actually willing to spend the money on it. What we're waiting for is 2 other electricians to come in and give a competing bid because, conflict of interest. He would like 2 other bids. Our problem is we have not been able, like other people who said, we cannot find another company that'll come in and give a bid. We've been going to several others. I called my cousins over at Napco Electric last week to see if they would come in and try to do that. They're going to try to come within the next little bit. We know they'll be way out of the price range, but at least that'll give us some kind of competing bid. So we should have everything back up and everything rentable with an action plan on the electrical by the next meeting. So I just wanted to keep you updated on that. If we are able to do that, can we?
Is he trying to get out coming down to our?
Well, I would, listen, it would be he'd be looking sideways at my wife's business about that because I was not aware that it was up to date as much as it was, and that's my fault. So if we come back with, of course, when we get them done, we'll call codes as soon as possible. Let them look through the other units, just like we had them look through the ones that we've already done, and see if we can get 2 other bids on the electrical and have an action plan on that by the next meeting. Would that be acceptable?
I'd rather see the owner here myself.
We don't mean no choice, you're allowed to be like you're realize.
Well, I know, and that's what I think that's why he went ahead and authorized everything because.
We want him down here.
Well, no, not because you wanted him down here, but by the last time, we basically told him, said, you better start spending some money because I know plenty of people in the city would like nothing better than to see this thing raised to the ground. So he has authorized that to happen. It's just, he's not the easiest to deal with.
Well, he's no better than any other property owner.
I understand.
And personally, I would recommend to the board to have him present at the next meeting.
Proceed to 13.
All right.
Any other business come before the board? We're adjourned.